because when we look at it, the job search, it's a workflow process. It's more than that, but at the core of it, the work that you have to do on a daily basis to search for a job is a workflow process. And there really was nothing out there to manage it. Even the big boys with all their, advertisements for job seekers, they're really focused on the hiring companies and recruiters. And, most of what's available for job seekers is upload your resume and, get lost into an ATS system and we'll never call you back.
Hi, I'm Renata Bernardi, and this is the Job Hunting Podcast, where I interview experts and professionals and discuss issues that are important for job hunters and those who are working to advance their careers. So make sure that you subscribe and follow, and let's dive right in. When Garrett Rice left his job at Apple, where he had stayed for over 20 years, he realized that job search was hard work. And he also noticed that things that he knew from Apple in terms of fixing up users' experience and fixing up workflow issues, that he could apply those to job search and help job seekers like you. So in this conversation with Garrett, we discuss how artificial intelligence and technology and machine learning are now a huge part of job search, job application, and recruitment and selection. And we also discuss what are the implications of that for your experience as a job seeker and also for your job in the future. I hope that you enjoyed this conversation. I had a wonderful time talking to Garrett about this. It's easy listening. He talks really fluently about an area where he's an expert in, and I hope that you will enjoy listening to this episode. If you want to know more about the way that I work with my clients and the way that Garrett's platform helps job seekers, there will be links for you in the episode show notes. So after listening, go to the episode show notes. If you're interested in this sort of content, don't forget to subscribe to my podcast, the Job Hunting Podcast, and also invest in it a little bit more and subscribe to the newsletter that I sent every week with subscribers only content. So there will be a link for you to subscribe in the show notes as well. Have fun. I saw that you worked for a long time at Apple.
That's right.
And then you left. And I was wondering if there was any hard lesson that you learned about job searching that made you want to help job seekers?
Yes.
That's a very short answer. I want more.
So I left Apple during the pandemic. Actually, you know what? Hold on one second. My dog has his collar on and is rattling as he itches himself. So I'm going to take that off so he can.
That's okay. I don't mind background noise. I don't think the listeners are more interested in what you're about to say.
Oh, okay. All right. So the answer to your question is yes. So I left Apple in 2019 after many, many years there and doing a lot of different things. And I did it because I felt like I'd done what I could do there and wanted to move on. And I had the idea of taking a year off and going and making, I'd made a movie a long time ago. And so I took the time off because I was going to make a TV pilot that I'd been working on. And unfortunately, the timing coincided with this small little pandemic and just absolutely destroyed those plans. And so I went back to work and worked for a couple of years as an executive at a mid-sized company. And then I left there because it wasn't a great match. I wasn't enjoying it. And I started looking really for the first time in my career seriously for a new job. And the thing that you learn as a product manager at Apple is focus on the user and the problems that they have and try and take those problems away. And there are so many problems in the job seeking market, for a job seeker. It is a mystery wrapped inside of an enigma, surrounded by really crappy bureaucracies. And so I met my partner, Philippe Caillou. We both signed up for the same career coach. because I was like, I don't even know what a job search looks like. And so actually that career coach turned out to be our third partner, Horst Govan. And so Philippe, uh, you know, and Horst and I were just aghast at what was available to job seekers in terms of tools to help them. Because when we look at it, the job search, you know, it's a workflow process. You know, it's more than that, but at the core of it, the work that you have to do on a daily basis to search for a job is a workflow process. And there really was nothing out there to manage it. Even the big boys with all their, you know, advertisements for job seekers, they're really focused on the hiring companies and recruiters. And, you know, most of what's available for job seekers is upload your resume and, you know, get lost into an ATS system and we'll never call you back. Um, and so we started building a platform to manage all the different steps of the job hunt in one place. Because when we talked to job seekers, the first thing we noticed is every one of them was building their own spreadsheets to track all the jobs they applied to. And you know, CRM is a, you know, that's a solved problem in the tech business, right? You know, people track in Salesforce, they track, you know, leads and lead generation, and there's platforms to do all of that, and there wasn't one for the job seeker, even on platforms like LinkedIn. So, you know, we started from that concept. Well, let's build a tracker so that everything that they do is in one place. And and as we started to explore this, of course, we were very excited about AI and the recognition that this was going to change everything. And it seemed like a natural technological fit for solving the problem that job seekers have because, well, many of the problems. And so, you know, in addition to tracking the jobs that people are pursuing, you know, we have a jobs database that we search against, and we use AI to do it. So, you know, another pain point that we noticed is that for most of the job seeking sites, you upload your resume, and then the next thing they ask you is to copy pieces of your resume into a profile, which is insane. They already have your resume. Why are you doing that? And so, you know, with us, you upload your resume, we build you the profile automatically, and you're in. And we take your resume. And the third thing that we noticed that was a pain point is most of the job seeking sites are keyword based. And so that's a very inefficient way to look holistically for a job because different companies have different names for the same roles. Um, you may mistype or you don't get it exactly right. And keyword searching, unfortunately, is binary. If you don't get it right, it's not there. So we didn't like that, and plus, it gives you no sense of whether you're a good match for the job. And so, you know, we built a platform where we use AI to read your resume and then compare it against millions of jobs to find the ones that you're qualified for and you have a good shot at. And we give you a rating score, and that's the most popular part of our platform right now is our job match score. And so we look at a job, and by the way, you can get the jobs from us, but you can also bring jobs in from other platforms like LinkedIn. We have a plugin to do that. So wherever you're hunting to find opportunities, you can bring them to us for tracking, and we'll do the match score for you to show where you match, where you don't match. And that report is very detailed. You know, for example, it might say, you know, you're really great with the skills, but, you know, they are phrasing this job that you're pursuing as having a specific knowledge base around some topic. And that's not on your resume. And maybe you know it, but it's not on your resume. Now you know to add it back, you know, and, you know, and looking at the article, you know, that you recently posted, you know, where, you know, it's about telling your story, right? And the first step of telling your story is getting that opportunity, which means, you know, you have to convey what they're looking for so they'll talk to you. And, you know, the ATS system, you know, they reject, you know, really fast unless you have that match. And so our job match system brings you jobs that you're qualified for, tells you where you match and where you don't match. Then we use AI to help you customize your resume so that it truly does match, and a cover letter that, you know, is apropos to the opportunity. We do all of that. We provide research tools for the jobs you're pursuing. What's the company like? What's the latest news? All of that is part of our platform. And then the next problem, you know, that we heard, oh, well, by the way, you know, custom resumes is essential at this point, right? And so we addressed that problem. That was another one. And then the biggest one, and you brought it up, you know, networking in your newsletters, networking, and people are like, great, yes. And then they go home and cry because there's no process for networking. It's just like reach out to people, that are gonna think that I'm mooching on them and try and ask them for something. And
Yeah.
so we've tried to address that as well. And what we do is we take the job that you're interested in. And for every single job opportunity that you identify, we will try and identify the 5 to 7 people in that organization that you're pursuing that are the hiring manager, people on the team, the recruiter, the person above or below, so that you have a lot of context to reach out. And we draft those messages, and that may not be the message you go with, but AI is great for this. It solves the blank page problem.
Yeah.
So you don't have to sit there. Like I used to do this when I was doing this, I started to apply for jobs, and I would literally spend half a day staring at my word processor like, what should I say? What should I say in this cover letter? What should I say in this outreach message?
Yeah.
And when you have AI prompt and assist you, and
Mhm.
our AI, you could do this on ChatGPT. What we've done is we've pre-built what are some fairly complicated prompts for our users around the job search, so that they don't even need to prompt. It's just the cover letter or the
There.
custom resume or the outreach message to networking contacts is all there for you in that first draft form, and you might tinker with it or change it, but that takes much less time than starting from scratch.
Yeah.
And so that's another problem that we solve. We also solve the problem of preparing for interviews. Now, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't practice interviewing. Any job seeker should, but we provide a very detailed 2 to 3 page report on everything that you should know in advance of your interview. The types of questions you're probably going to get, the type of questions you can ask them, who's likely to interview you, and so we provide that as well. And then on top of that, notes and to dos, so that we can help them, or the job seeker, remember what's next, to take notes if they did talk to somebody, so that it's all in one place. You don't have to go anywhere else. And that's because yet another problem in the job search. The average job seeker today uses 16 different tools for their job search. That's not sustainable. That's not manageable. That's not efficient or effective. And so, so it really came down, and I rambled a lot, but it really came down in answering your question that, Apple teaches you to dive in on the problem and really understand the true pain points of the user. And Apple tries to take those away,
Yeah.
not help a little bit, but really try and take them away to really move you forward. And that's what we're trying to do with Callings.ai.
I have so many questions for you, but coming back to that Apple philosophy and ethos, it's really interesting. I will never forget the day I got my first iPhone. I have one here right now. It needs updating.
Yeah.
I was in Chicago and I was on a train from Northwestern down to Chicago's, commercial district, and I was looking at the Google Maps and I was moving, and I felt like I was in like a science fiction movie. This was 2007,
Yeah.
2008.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is the future. I didn't know I needed this. And now I cannot live without Google Maps always, right? The thing that I am unsure about what you're proposing is what I call the optimism bias in the job seeker, is the fact that the job seeker never believes that they will have a problem finding a job. They think that they will have a job in 2 months, and they might not be prepared to invest to do what you're saying, which is sign up for this, made basically like a CRM for job seekers platform. Have you encountered that? People that think that they can get a job very quickly. I get that all the time. People sign up for my podcast, they may text me and say they love it. And I say, well, if you need more support, have a look at my services. And then 8 months later, they come back.
Well,
I
I think
don't
that's
have a job.
that's the key thing, Renata. They eventually understand.
Yeah. Uh huh.
Yeah, and it's so painful, right? I think we all fall into that trap, right?
Mm,
When we face something daunting, we want to believe that it'll be over quickly. And by the way, I mean, doing a startup is the same way. Philippe and I thought we'd be, billionaires by now. And, lo and behold, there's a lot of work to do to get there.
Mm.
So I think it's understandable. We we believe that they'll eventually understand that. The hard truth is that, and these statistics are old, and I think that the market has changed dramatically in the last 5 years. I'm interested in your thoughts on that, but it seems to me that the job market is fundamentally different now after Zoom and COVID and the pandemic and remote and hybrid work. And so, with all of those changes, I think the average job seeker back then would take 5 months to get a job.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that probably is a low number now for any job seeker. And then for the job seekers that we attract most, which is white collar workers, that number is 5 months to a year, with some people, on year two.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be the bearer of that dark information. I hope that everybody gets the job in the 2 months or even a month or immediately. But I think as a job seeker, you eventually learn that, that it's a work process and that it's going to take time.
Yeah.
And especially the more senior you are, right? Because there's less chairs in that musical chair game if you're
Yeah.
senior
Yeah.
and you're pursuing a very rare commodity.
Mm. Mm.
And so, we'll see, but what we just try and do is lay out the availability of it. If you're just looking quickly and you feel like you're going to move quickly, you can just drop your resume and we'll bring you job matches and you can go and apply to them.
Yeah.
And that part of our product is free. So, as a job seeker who's getting started and doesn't feel like they need the full boat of stuff that we provide, they can use it for free as long as they want, just to look at jobs and track jobs. If they want to use the AI stuff, then they can subscribe to our service. And
Yeah.
but I think I like how you articulate it as a job seeker optimism, and you have
Yeah.
to have that because it's one of the probably one of the top 5 or 6 most painful things that a person goes through in life.
Yeah. And if you think about, my analogy with the iPhone and what happens in my business, as a career coach, is that people come to me because they need a resume. People go to the shops because they need a phone, right? What they don't know, what they didn't know back in 2008 is, in addition to a phone, they have a camera, they have a map, they have social platforms. Da, da, da. So I guess when they come to me and ask for a resume, it's so hard. It's impossible for a career coach to create a resume. And I know that there are people out there that well, that's all they do. They design resumes and they give it back to you. You are their client. They want you to be happy. Whereas the resume is not for you. The resume is for the employer. So in order for that to happen, there's just so many other, you know, variables that get to exist and to be accounted for in order for that resume to perform and get you a job. So a lot of people come to me with those beautiful resumes that means absolutely nothing for an ATS system for the job that they're applying for. So that
Actually,
educational,
might even make
yeah,
it worse, Renata. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
one of the things we do when we import somebody's resume
Oh yeah, it makes it
is
worse. Yeah.
is we remove the formatting and make it a straight
Mm.
text resume. And we do that for a
Oh,
very specific reason, which is ATS systems scrape your
exactly.
resume. The
Yeah.
beautiful charts and tables and in purple with the script, all of that is this is important for you job seekers out there. As
Garrett,
pretty
I'm
as your
so glad.
resume is, the only thing that the hiring manager for most
Yeah.
large companies see is your resume scraped into text and oftentimes not even formatted. And so, um, so the, we create custom resumes for each job that are just text
Yeah.
based for that reason. And we've gotten complaints. People were like, "Oh, I want it to be,
Yes.
the picture of the airplane subtly in the background." And you're like,
Nope.
that doesn't make it through. So
Garrett,
you
I'm
bring up
so
a
glad
great point.
You brought the purple, not me, because every time I mention purple, one of my clients will say, "You were talking about my resume." And I'm like, no, there's a lot of purple out there in resume making. I don't know why. All right.
To our customers out there, we're not talking about you behind your back. There's a
No,
lot
no,
of
no.
people with purple resumes.
No, but I'm now going to talk about a conversation I had last night. So this is my coaching week. I coach from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at night, people from all over the world. And I was with a client yesterday, and this is the second thing that, from what you explained about your platform, I wanted to raise with you, is the fact that a lot of people come out of long-term employment, not at Apple, where you are aware of all the trends and technologies. You know, they might be working in manufacturing or infrastructure or consulting, and they have never used AI.
Yeah,
And what I was explaining to this new client is this, is that by using ChatGPT to do your job search, you are going to be learning how AI works because you haven't been exposed to that. You know, I'm going to send you the prompts that I've been using, and I want you to replicate them. I want you to learn. Is there a risk here of this platform being so good that you take away that agency and that professional development for them? Because I don't want them to miss out on the opportunity to talk to AI.
yeah. I think your recommendation is brilliant. I mean, people do need to. Um, my my partner says it best. AI is just a new tool. It's no different than the wheel or fire or the smartphone or the internet. The impact is probably going to be as big as any of those, to be fair, over the next coming years. And the evidence suggests that there's a ton of statistics that are really scary in that regard. So I think your recommendation to your clients is really great, which is you've got to go and learn AI. I don't know if we would take away from that because if you sign up for ChatGPT or any of these services, there's a million things you're going to use it for. I use it every day, and I use it for everything. How do I take care of my dog, or be a better parent to my kids? To how do I solve this technical problem with my lawnmower? To what's going on in politics, or it's so widespread and so good as a accelerant to looking into concepts and articulating concepts that I think there's so many opportunities, and it isn't that hard, and it's not scary once you start to use it. But I think you're right; they have to start, and the first step is just to type in questions, and then eventually you start to understand what a prompt is, which is simply a more detailed question with a lot of parameters around it. And so I think everybody should do that. Um, Currently, we use AI for very specific, ways to accelerate the job process. Um, Certainly, anybody could, for example, drop their resume in a job post and say, what should I change about it? Where what we bring to the table is, we've studied it a lot and we've really worked on those prompts so that we get a really great result. The downside of that is the person doesn't learn how to do it for themselves. The way AI is going, though, there's increasingly AI is moving to things like agents and sort of the next level on top of large language models.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for people to dive into AI. And so I don't know that we're taking anything away from them learning that, but it's an interesting question.
Yeah. So, the other thing is the human connection in the recruitment process. I interviewed Dan Fantasia, who is a recruiter in the US working mostly with sales professionals. And I think also because of his expertise in working with sales is still, very much human based, so I suppose, if it's not e commerce. And he was adamant that we need human recruiters recruiting, especially because we're talking about sales, right? Um, in your platform, when does the human connection commences, or if there is any, or can they be hired without any human connection? I'll give you an example. Before the pandemic in 2018, sorry, 17, I we were observing this major bank in Australia that was hiring up to 2,000 people every year. To be fair, they were young graduates and entry level roles in banking. 2,000 people without a single human interaction. It was all, and the results were actually amazing. The retention was higher. They were
Really?
happier. Yes. And not only, it was so transformative, and I wonder what has happened, because I left the university environment and I stopped following what was going on with this specific bank. But they weren't even asking for a degree or where did you graduate, because those were perceived as being bias, right? So
Hmm.
if you graduate from an Ivy League university or the equivalent here in
Yeah.
Australia, or if you graduated from the same university as your manager, could that be a bias? So they removed that, and then they went a step further and said, well, if they answer these questions and they record this video, and the narrative and the language and the cognitive abilities or all the psychometric all the assessments that they did are fine, we don't care if they've done their university degrees or not.
Yeah.
So we're not even going to ask that. So I thought that that was really interesting, and there were no interviews. It was just that was just it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, if it works, it works. You know,
What do you
we
think in terms of
I,
your platform?
it's going to go that. I mean, it's already going that way. So
Mm.
there are companies that are like Micro One, for example, that has built a platform for doing AI driven interviews, and it's pretty slick. They've done a great job. Certainly there's a lot of technology on the recruiter hiring side around using AI to identify candidates, trying to evaluate candidates. I guess I'm mixed though, because human beings are pretty good at reading human beings. Not always, but um, and there's certainly probably limits to analyzing data to evaluate a human being. You can't pick up on their sense of humor, or what they're clever about, or anything like that, just based on analyzing the data of their answers. But I imagine it's going to be a lot more of a team a team process with AI and technology and hiring and recruiting going together. And there are certain types of jobs, I think, where interviewing is probably not as essential. I think the higher up you move, I think interviewing has to be essential, because you're not hiring those people to be able to turn a crank, or to do something simple or repetitive or that can be measured. You're hiring them for their wisdom and their decision making. And I don't think anybody's done a great job of identifying in advance how to really rate somebody on that, because it's
Mm.
contextual, right? It's based on what problem you're trying to work on and who you're working with at the moment in time. And you see famous, talented, successful people fail, you know, in similar roles when they switch. It's a fascinating thing. So I don't know. I hope that the human element remains. We believe it should. For example, in addition to all the tools, AI driven tools, and SaaS based tools that we provide basic level, once a month coaching webinars with our co-founder Horst Govan, just to basically give them a sense of what the job search entails and things to remember. And we save those, and those are in a library. Now, we don't think that that's a replacement for hiring a real career coach or somebody to help, for example, with the resume, if they don't have one to begin with. We've not built a from scratch resume tool. For our customers, you have to start with the resume for us to really work well.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how AI would replace that capability. And there's a
Mm.
big part of that too that AI is going to really struggle with, which is, we mentioned before, that being on a job search could be one of the top 5 or 6 most stressful and painful things you go through in life.
Oh, yes,
And
absolutely.
and you have to talk to another human being about that part of it. And and I think that plays a role as well. So I don't know.
Mm.
I'm not ready to believe from what I've seen with AI that it's going to replace everything in our world. It's just going to change
Yeah.
it.
Tell me about video. In your platform, are you incorporating video? A few months ago, I interviewed a startup founder here in Australia, and their platform is video based, and that's very controversial. There are lots of different versions of video interviewing. Some of them, you may know this, have incorporated reading people's body language and facial features, and analyzing that, and that's quite controversial. And I don't think it's allowed here in Australia, but I don't
Hmm.
think that it's possible for it to be controlled. I mean, people could be applying for jobs overseas from Australia, for example, and they would be using those types of video interviewing. And what I think is really interesting is here in Melbourne, there is one executive search firm that's quite well known. Many of my clients use this firm because they have so many good jobs. And the first thing you have to do is send them a 3-minute video.
Yeah,
And that's for C-level roles. And that just is amazing because my clients are not ready for that. Young people are, but Generation X clients applying for CEO roles, they do not want to do a 3-minute video to begin with. They might be willing to do it maybe later on, but
yeah,
it's that straight to camera is very awkward at that senior level.
I get it.
Mm,
Yeah, and I mean, I have a big background in video. The part of the job search process that we currently manage with our platform, we don't manage the interview process, right? We want to get people to the point of an interview, and there are other technology companies that are dealing with that.
got
Um,
it.
that being said, we have big plans to help people do a better job of telling their story, and
Mm,
video will play a role in that. And I'll have to come back on to tell you about that once we're further along. But
okay.
we've got some exciting stuff that we're working on to help people, do a better job of promoting themselves. And so I think you have to do it. Um, the way our current system is set up is, hopefully that's an opportunity you get to make by being considered for a job that we help you get in line
Mhm.
for, right? And so right now our platform is focused mostly on that, whatever the first 150 yards of the job search, which is, what is it that you want to do and be in your next role, right? And so we have tools to help people research and explore that, and then helping them find opportunities, helping them apply to those opportunities successfully, and helping them prepare for that interview opportunity. And then I think you're going to see some of these other technology plays come in, where they're going to interview to an AI, they're going to be recorded by an AI. I think that's going to happen, um, and eventually, I think that's going to be a central part of it. I mean, we're all spending our lives on Zoom right now, so it's already happened, right? Most of the interviews, that when I talk to people, they don't go to downtown to an interview at an office building anymore. Almost all of the interviews people take, if they are quote unquote live interviews, are via Zoom or Teams or any of the other options out there. And so, so you're already on video, and we're all starting to learn how to do that. Before you and I got started today, I had to spend 5 minutes figuring out this microphone.
Yeah,
So, uh, I think you're right. It's coming. It's
yeah,
already. I mean, it's already here at some level, and
yeah.
it's only going to get. It's only going to get more, and it'll be interesting to see if AI does a good job of reading people's facial expressions. It's a little scary because I think there's a lot of micro anxieties going on when somebody's in the middle of a job interview that might be misinterpreted by an AI, if
Mm,
they didn't train it in the right situation.
yeah.
But it's inevitable. I
And
agree
by the
with
way,
you.
Garrett, if you still have friends at Apple, please tell them to fix Teams because it's very hard to do an interview with a Mac computer in Teams. And I can
Okay.
elaborate if you want to have details. Very
I
hard.
and it's not Microsoft, it's Apple, you feel?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's something to do with the ability to do a presentation. So if I have a client that's more senior in the interview, is a presentation. So you have slides and you have to do a slide deck that you need to showcase. Once you open the slide deck to share, you lose the faces of the people. I don't know. That's what my clients tell me. I don't have a Mac. You lose people's images, or you can't see the notes. You have to opt for one thing or the other. I mean, it's not. It's important for them to see their notes. Anyway, and I'm like, just buy another monitor, and I'm still, it doesn't work. I
I
had a
haven't run
couple.
into that problem, but I believe you.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
believe you. Um,
All
I mean,
right.
it's really interesting to me. Every meeting that we have right now on any of
Mm,
these platforms, the first 5 minutes, like in the old days, right? The first 5 minutes was waiting for people to cross campus to get into the meeting room so you could start your meeting, or for
yes.
people to finish talking about their weekend. Now, the first 5 to 10 minutes of every call is people tinkering with their camera and their microphone and getting their background right. And so
Absolutely.
I
I
guess
feel
things
so bad
change, but they
sometimes.
don't change.
Yeah, I feel so bad that as a coach, sometimes I'm 2 minutes late because Zoom is doing something weird, and I apologize. And I remember, my coach in real life, the 10 years ago, being, I don't know, 20 minutes late because of traffic. And that was just, we just lost our patience now. Everything has to be so timed. Now let's move forward. Talking about things changing fast. Things are changing so fast, and I'd love to get your predictions for 2030. We're in 2025, and I feel like we are millions of years ahead of where we were in 2020 when it comes to technology and AI and what's going on. And if we fast forward another 5 years, what is your prediction for white collar workers? Where will we be? And people are feeling really anxious about their job still existing. Many professionals feel that. If you're working with process improvement or project management, or if you're a dietitian, or you know what I mean, those are things that AI can optimize. Can you identify where we're going with work in the future?
Yeah, and it's always tough to predict the future. I think to all the people who
Yeah.
wrote books, like in the 1980s and 90s about where the computer industry went, like Bill Gates had just finished shipping his book about the future of computing in like 1994, and then the internet came out, and he had never even mentioned it. And obviously the internet was a gigantic change in the computer industry, and he didn't see it. Nobody was closer to the front lines of the computer industry than Bill Gates. So it's a tough predictions are a tough job, but um,
Let's say something
I'll
really
throw a few
controversial.
I'll throw
Yeah.
through a few statistics at you.
Okay.
Last year, 57% of the internet content was generated by AI. So when you're surfing around on the internet and reading stuff, more than half of it was already AI generated or touched. This year in 2025, the prediction from Forbes, I believe, is that it'll be 90%. And so, one prediction I'm very confident of making, and I've written articles about it, is that we are going to be deluged by a tsunami of AI driven content. And it will be printed content, video content, audio content, any type of media that we know will increasingly and almost entirely be touched by AI in the future.
Hmm.
That's job posts, that's resumes, that's anything in anybody in any of those industries. This is already happening. This is not. It's barely even a prediction. It's more like, this is happening right now, and that will the conclusion of it will be that. And so it'll be increasingly difficult to hear human voices in the future, which is a little nerve wracking for me, because one of the things that human beings do very well is they take in what's happening and they create new concepts around where we should go to address that issue. AI is not very good at that. So, when the car came out, human beings being forward looking were able to predict and build a world in which cars were at the center point of transportation. AI tends to be more backward looking, and it doesn't necessarily make those intuitive leaps for where we should go. And so that worries me, right? Because if humans have a more difficult time being heard, and at the same time they're the real solution to potentially upcoming problems, then that's a concern. And so my optimistic side says that we're going to increasingly value human beings who we know are wise and have, who can articulate things in the right way. But they're going to have to stick out against a tsunami of AI generated content, which will all be perfectly have perfect elocution and spelling and everything else. But so that's one thing. That the other prediction that I made, which is already coming true, is that once AI takes over, we've got the following challenge. AI is trained on data. And so if 90% of all the content generated in our world is made by AI, it's going to be increasingly difficult for the AI companies to exclude AI data from AI training. And if you train AI on AI data, it has a mad cow type of reaction in which, it gets AI referencing AI. It's called this self-referential death spiral.
Right.
And an AI goes crazy when it starts to reference itself, in the same way that if cows eat cow brains, they get mad cow disease. And so that's a concern, because
Mm.
it may mean that AI will be less reliable going forward unless the AI industry really addresses this issue. Um, the third thing I think that I would predict is people cannot bond with an AI very much. They can't look an AI in the eyes and get feedback or help or support. They can't laugh or joke with AI interactively. I mean, you can ask it to tell you a joke, but what it isn't going to do is have that human connection, and people crave that. In fact, even before AI came out, everybody's staring at their black screens, everywhere they go. It's already causing a loneliness epidemic and that type of thing. And so I believe, as an optimist, that increasingly people are going to start seeking out human interactions and finding more value in those things. Because
Mm.
I think increasingly, as AI takes over the media, we're going to get increasingly bored of what's being injected into our brains via multimedia.
Mm.
It makes us unhappy. It makes us angry. It doesn't make us happy or loving or enjoy it. And we're already seeing the statistics on that. People get too immersed in social media or on their platforms are definitively more unhappy than people that don't. you know
Mm.
and people that go out, plant a flower in their backyard, hang out with their significant other, they're the people that have identified and found happiness and contentment. So those are sort of three broad things. On the technology side, to get more specific, AI is going to pick up a lot of the things that people do. It's already happening, and
Yeah.
people are already planning for it. The reason that we have the so-called white collar recession right now, I think, is because most of the hiring people, and this is borne out by surveys. Most of the hiring managers and people responsible for hiring are predicting that they're going to need less people, and they're planning to not hire as many people. 54% of hiring managers are assuming AI will take jobs, and they're either planning to not hire as many people or to let people go. And so that's going to be tougher for a job seeker out there.
Yeah.
Again, the optimistic upside is AI is a huge accelerant to human capability. We're seeing that with our startup. It's amazing the things that we can use internally with AI to do work that originally you had a team of 3 people to do. And as a result, individuals are going to be more empowered than ever to make their dreams a reality, at least technically, with AI. So if you want to write a screenplay and and you've got some good ideas, you can upload that screenplay into ChatGPT, ask for feedback, work collaboratively and iteratively with it to make
Yeah.
your screenplay better. The third act isn't right. What do you recommend? By gosh, it does that. I've used it this way, and it's really. And so I view it that way as an accelerant. Steve Jobs once said the computer is a bicycle for the mind. And AI is a 4-wheel drive vehicle with 1,000 horsepower for the mind. It really can help you move forward. If you want to, for example, build a technology platform, you could use AI at this point. If you can prompt exactly what you're looking for and you're willing to spend enough time, it will even write the code for you.
Yeah.
So, that's going to open up barriers that historically have been blocked. You used to have an engineering team if you wanted to make an idea into a reality and technology. Now you just need the idea and these AI tools, and you can get
Mm.
there. And so, I rambled a lot there, but I think
Oh, it's
those are the
great.
concerns, and those are
Yeah.
the opportunities I see. And by the way, we're living that. We're much more
Yeah.
productive as our little startup is using AI to be competitive. So
Absolutely. No, I really like all the ideas that you proposed. And I think a lot of listeners who are still on the fence or maybe not using AIs to its full capability to help them with their lives and their job search, they might sort of get some ideas from what you just said. I will put a link below to your company's website so that people can go check out the platform. Is it ready for use?
platform is ready for use today.
Yeah.
Callings.ai. And I'm
Okay.
going to look up a coupon here or a URL that they can use. I think. Let me just
Send
see if
it to me and I'll add it to the blog post so that people can use the coupon. That would be great.
okay. I
Okay.
believe it is callings.ai
Hmm.
slash slash job hunting, I believe,
Okay.
for your
Okay.
podcast. But I will
Oh,
confirm
good.
that. And
Okay.
for those that come in, we'll give you a coupon for extra time on the platform. And we'd love to. If you're looking for a job, we can help you. Come try it out. It doesn't cost anything. We'll help you find jobs and track jobs, all that for free. And then the more advanced features at a reasonable rate of about
And
$30 a
Garrett,
month.
do you think it works well for people overseas, or are we talking about our American listeners?
We have users overseas. We've been focused on
Okay.
the U.S. market for
Uh-huh.
the obvious reason that we're here, and we got to pick one to focus on to start. But for major cities overseas, it works quite well.
Okay. Good.
Where we need to do work is if you're not in a major city in Europe or Oceania, then
No.
we may not have the job coverage yet for you. But I think Melbourne and Sydney, we're
Should be
ready to go
fine.
right now.
Okay. Good. Thank you so much, Garrett.
Thank you so much, Renata. Really, really happy to be here.